Hello friends, second day of Ignite here, and now I'm joined by Scott Hanselman. He just finished his session, which was a packed room again. Tell me, I know, Scott, you're preparing very much for your sessions, and each one of your deliveries is usually a big hit, even when you don't nail it, like last year's, Les Build during the keynote. You nailed it because you didn't nail it, I would say. Tell me, why do you prepare so much for your deliveries?
Well, I mean, there are sessions that are educational sessions where you sit in the session and you walk someone go through the motions, and then there are sessions with animated GIFs that's just silly. I try to be edutaining, right?
That's cool.
I mean,
edutaining.
we've come all this way, we've paid all this money, we're sitting in front of all of these with these strangers. Let's at least be edutained, right? So we put a lot of work into this because there's a couple thousand people in the room, but there's several 100,000 people that are going to watch this later online, or people who are joining us right now live, which is cool. I think that you have to think about the multiplier, right? Anytime that you write a blog post, you can write it for yourself, but each additional person that reads it is a multiplier. It multiplies your keystrokes.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's say that you email me a great question afterwards, right? You're a nice fella, I know you, but I'm not going to give you the gift of my keystrokes.
That is right.
Because that's like 2,000 keystrokes. I'm never going to get those back. But what if I wrote a blog post, put a little extra work into it, not just a sloppy email. You don't want a sloppy email. What if I did a sample code and some screenshots and I wrote it all up and I sent you a link to it?
Definitely.
And then you forwarded it and gave it to a friend, and then I forwarded it, and then a couple people visited it, and it got on Reddit, and it got on Hacker News. 1,000 people could benefit from a little bit of preparation. So that's why we put so much work into these things.
That's brilliant. That's great to hear. And all the audiences which you usually face during all of these sessions that you deliver, they don't only get the knowledge which is delivered as content, but they also get the energy you have to offer there, both with Scott Hunter and yourself. Now, tell me more about your engagement and involvement in community. Why do you do that?
Well, I mean, we're all just trying to figure this thing out, right? I mean, I really want to blow up the concept of the rockstar programmer, of the idea of us and them. You know, I want you to go and give presentations. I want her to give presentations and him to give presentations. Like, I'm going to go and talk to a user group later tonight, and it'll be maybe 50 people. And if I succeed, those 50 people will take those talks and those presentations and that knowledge and give talks themselves, right? It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us all lifting each other up.
I couldn't agree more. And the fact that you're not only doing tier 1, but also meetups and user groups and things like that are impressive.
They have tacos. They're giving me food.
That's the secret. So if you want to have Scott Hanselman to your meetup, have tacos.
That's true.
When was your first engagement in the community?
1992 or 3. I think I was talking about Visual Basic 3 at a local user group.
Why did you do it? Same reason back then as well?
That's a little more of a complicated answer. I like talking to people. I like that energy because I'm giving you my energy and you're multiplying it back to me. I did a lot of musical theater.
Oh.
I did a lot of stand-up comedy.
Very nice.
There's a certain kind of personality that wants that energy. So, some people get energy by going home and some people get energy by going out, and I get energy by going out.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Have you heard any stories when you delivered any of your sessions, after the session or before the session, of people in the audience doing something maybe outdated or legacy, and then somebody else just popping up and saying, "Hey, I know a secret formula for your problem.
Yep.
I can fix your impediment."
That happens a lot. I've had times where the people come up after the session and they kind of get in a circle and they ask their questions, and you'll have 5 or 6 people there and they'll be asking questions, and then someone will say, "Oh, I'm using Project Foo and it's discontinued and we're sad about that," and then someone that doesn't know that person's like, "Oh, we just had that problem at work," and then suddenly they're off having lunch together and they're solving the problem together and they're sharing their knowledge. Like, that's the moment that makes it all worthwhile. I've had times where I'm talking to 1,000 people and they all have blank stares, and I'm getting uncomfortable and I'm worried that they don't understand, and then someone starts to nod in the 3rd row, and then the other 1,000 people go away, and I just look at the person in the 3rd row and they're like, and then they have this look on their face like, I can go back to the hotel now and get on the phone with the team and we can go to Azure DevOps, or we can go and do this or whatever, and we've just solved a problem. So it's that moment where you connected with another human and help them solve some problem that makes it worthwhile.
It's all about digital transformation at the end of the day. Application lifecycle management, as the way we usually call it, where we modernize applications and we keep them up to date and in good health and stable and reliable and more scalable and more performant, or whatever you want to call it.
I also think it's about doing more with less.
Yeah.
right? Like nobody wants to be in charge of the build and have to stay up all night in a hotel trying to babysit the build. What they want is a reliable deployment that it doesn't have to be babysat. Nobody wants to carry the pager and get that, oh, I gotta go. I gotta go babysit the build. We just want to go home and hang out with our family.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. Now, you've been in the technology industry for a long time now. Tell me, in the last decade, I've heard and seen many different buzzwords. I saw mobile being a buzzword, then later containers, cloud first, then containers, then optimization on containers and orchestration and whatnot, and many, many different technologies as well. What do you think is the next big thing which will hit?
I think the next big buzzword is going to be WebAssembly. I think we have to ask ourselves why Silverlight was a thing. Why was Flash a thing? Why was Java applets a thing? It was because we wanted a tiny virtual machine that would run inside of the browser, because we wanted the browser to be a computer. And while we were worrying about all those plugins, it actually happened, and JavaScript became that virtual machine. And there were some attempts to compile or transpile languages like C# and Java to JavaScript, but why not compile them to WebAssembly, which is a binary format, and then run things within that? So I think Blazor, Blazor, is a really great opportunity for people to be introduced to .NET and then run that in an open web way. The idea that this isn't a proprietary plugin or a secret Microsoft thing, it's entirely an open source technology built top to bottom, running in any browser that supports WebAssembly. And I think ultimately app stores are great, but the open web will win.
That's very cool. I couldn't agree more. Tell me, Scott, are you going to be here for the entire week?
I will try to be, if there's tacos.
Awesome. So what other sessions do you plan to attend?
Oh my goodness. I'm probably going to go to as many .NET sessions I can, but I'm also interested in Azure DevOps. I recently changed my build from being manual that I ran on my laptop, and I moved it up into the cloud. It took me like an hour, and I've only scratched the surface. So I'm actually in the process of converting all of my GitHub repositories to build in an Azure pipeline.
Very cool. So I'm using actually Damian Brady's famous quote, stop. What is it again? I'm sorry about this.
No, it's okay.
It's about right-clicking and stop right-click publishing.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Don't let your friends
right-click and publish.
That's the one.
That's Damian Brady. I also say don't let your friends open 2 Explorer windows and then copy paste into production.
Yeah, that's right. Even better. That's
friends don't let friends deploy with a batch file. I
exactly.
think is the point.
That's very similar to what Damian Brady has. So
I'm
actually using a similar. He is indeed. He didn't join Ignite, unfortunately, so we cannot meet him here. But I'm using his session title for a theater session later this week on Thursday.
Oh, I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
You'll be more than welcome to join. And it's going to be about Azure DevOps and how you guys, attendees and fellow MVPs and whoever watches us and wants to no longer have manual implementation of build processes and so on and so forth, you can automate the entire process and have a truly well-implemented application lifecycle management overall. Scott, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice, wonderful Ignite.